So it says 12:01 here.
Perfect. I think we are live now.
Okay. Now?
Yep.
Oh, all right. Hi, guys. It's Jackie Gately here from Irresistible Travel Bloggers. I'm really happy to be sharing a special guest with you guys today. Some of you have mentioned that the social media piece of things is a big component of some of your struggles. And we're here to talk to Megan, who is the onboarding specialist at Meet Edgar. She's going to talk to us a little bit about some of the strategies that you can put in place as far as um, batching and some other great ideas that she has. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you and turn the discussion over to Megan.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Jackie. It's really exciting to talk to a community full of such passionate bloggers like yourself. And, a lot of the time with social media, it's such a great platform. It's a free platform, all of these awesome places like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, in order to get your ideas and to get all your hard work out there. Because when it comes down to it, if you're blogging but not promoting it, it doesn't do much good if people aren't actually seeing it. And social media is a free place for us to do that. However, we all know it is such a time suck at times when you want to be actually going out there and producing more content and not spending so much time actually marketing it. So we're really excited to share some tools that we've actually come to find really helpful in our own social media strategy. And these tips can be used for bloggers, products, anything that is really helpful. And essentially why these have worked so well for us is because our founder, Laura Roeder, developed these strategies out of her own need. She had her own educational business and was finding the time suck of social media so frustrating and all the evil algorithms out there putting her posts not getting enough eyes on them and stuff like that. So as you're able to come up with these ideas of social batching and actually able to get efficient with your social media, you're not only able to get your ideas out there, but you're able to create these personal connections with your followers. And when it comes down to it, that personalization is really going to put your brand, your blogs really above anyone else's because people want to have that person to person connection and not feel like they're just reading a faceless website. So social media is certainly one of our biggest passions, and we're really excited to have a community like you guys to chat to it with.
Great. Can you know what? I don't know if everybody knows even what social batching is. Can you sort of just give a little insight to that for people who may not be familiar with the term?
Yeah, absolutely. So what social batching is sitting down and actually going in and doing all your updates at once. So whether you're doing this on a weekly or monthly basis, and then what we like to describe this as is coming up with categories for your update. So things like sharing your blog posts, things like sharing motivational quotes, questions, curated content from other people's sites, stuff like that to keep your feeds really robust. And what this does on a categorization process is it makes your updates not just be random, but it has some strategy behind it. So it can be a part of your entire marketing strategy. It can support your newsletter. It can support your followers' needs, saying, hey, every Monday I'm going to start out with a motivational quote to get my community started out really excited for the week. And you know what? My analytics show that I get more click-through rates at the end of the day. So I'm going to put my category for blog posts to go out in the evening when I know people are ready to sit down and actually read it. So when you're batching your updates in this category type system, what this allows for, again, is making sure the updates you're sending out are reaching your followers at the time they're online, and not only just when they're online, but reaching them at a time where it's going to really connect with them. So why is this really important? Is not only to get into a creative headspace to be able to sit down and write social media updates when you're in this space that you're thinking about your marketing, and you're not just running around and saying, oh, willy-nilly, I'm going to post an update here, I'm going to post an update there when I have time, but you have like a month's worth of content created. So what
Yeah,
we
I think that's huge because if you can try and get like 6 weeks or a month ahead of your cycle, you're not like scrambling in that, is it a hamster trail? And you coming from a marketing background, I really like you're looking at it from a strategy, sort of a top down, instead of, like you said, willy nilly just throwing things out there. It gives you a little bit more of a sense of control. At least that's what I found.
No, absolutely it does. Yeah. And if you're sitting there and you're doing it like as you're sitting at a traffic light, people are probably going to be able to tell that your status updates aren't as strong as they could be. So yeah, absolutely. And what this also allows you to do is make sure that the status updates that you're putting out there are connecting with your community and freeing up your time to then go in and actually reply to people who are commenting on them and actually retweet things that are really powerful, creating these communities and doing something we call keeping the social in social media, because that's what the algorithms are looking for. That's what they're rewarding more than anything, is that meaningful interaction of people talking together on a post and creating a sense of community that's really going to support their needs. So sitting down and actually pumping these out is a really cool thing to do. And we've actually come up with some really cool math that what it's called is kind of this 80-20 rule. I'm sure you've all heard it. It's used in so many different cases. But essentially what we like to say is, 80% of your updates should be value added updates. And social batching can help you really make sure you're sticking to this. So this is things that are offering, education, entertainment, they're offering information to people. And then that last update, that last 20% can be a little bit more promotional, sending people to a place where they're signing up for your newsletter, subscribing to your RSS feed for your blog, stuff like that. And that way it comes across so much more elegant because people are like, you know what? Yes, you've offered me so much more value that I want to give back to you now. And I want to become a part of your community now. So sticking to that and having your updates batched helps you make sure that your feed isn't just kind of a stream of promotions. Rather, it's that valuable information that people want to keep following. You really need to give people a reason to follow you these days. It's such a crowded space out there on the internet that if your feed isn't something that is offering that value, people aren't going to go to your page. People aren't going to actually take the time to comment and reply and like your information.
It's funny because I think as travel bloggers, those statistics might be a little bit different because so many of us forget to even promote. We're so busy putting content out there about great places we've been or how to pack or whatever else. Sometimes you forget to even invite people to your mailing list or invite people to your newsletter. So 20% is a good number for people to at least shoot for, and that, in their strategy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a really good point. A lot of the time we get a little nervous about promoting our ideas, but if you're spending so much time actually writing them, it is definitely something you need to think about. You're offering that value to them. You're giving them your awesome insights and taking them to a place around the world where they don't get to see. So actually your blogs are going to be amazing content for social media. And when you're batching it, not getting overwhelmed. And I am not a math person myself, so I'll keep this really simple. But when you're batching things out, what I always like to suggest doing is maybe coming up with 5 different categories. Again, something like blog posts, quotes, other people's links, questions, definitely asking your community questions, getting them involved, stuff like that. And then sitting down every month and adding 20 updates to each category. 20 updates might take you somewhere between 2 to 5 hours. From there, you're going to be able to say, okay, I want to send this out 3 times a week. And you have a month's worth of fresh content in each of those categories. Again, freeing you up to say, hey, now all I need to do is spend 20 minutes at the end of every day going in and replying to people who've commented on my stuff. And that way your social media becomes so much more of a strategized system rather than, again, posting here and there. So doing the math yourself, depending upon how many times you like to post a week, stuff like that. You can do this on a system of just spreadsheets. That's actually how our founder, Laura Roeder, started out doing it. Or we have a tool, Team Edgar is our software. It essentially was created out of her need because she was finding her spreadsheets getting a little bit overwhelming, where you're actually able to add your updates to these categories, schedule the categories to go out, and Edgar will take care of that posting for you. Again, freeing up your time to go in and actually engage.
Yeah, I like that because it's like you're driving the social media push. It's not driving you.
Ah, yes, so true.
That is good. That is good. Okay. All right. And so, when you're talking about content, it doesn't need to be just your blog post. I mean, these could be, like you said, photos or inspirational quotes. Like if I were to think of, sometimes it's difficult to get 1 or 2 blog posts out a week for me. So, but if you break that into like little pieces of micro content, all of that, where I know micro content is sort of a big thing for 2019, then you can use that to plan how you're going to strategize and put it out there and use some kind of tool, whether it's Meet Edgar or a spreadsheet or something like that to get that under under wraps. I think that's
Oh my
great.
gosh. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought this idea up of you don't have to reinvent the wheel with every status update. What we really focus on is evergreen content, which blog posts are really great for. And it really comes out of the idea that only about 10% of your followers ever see anything you post on social media. So you might find it a little bit concerning if you're like, I don't know, I promoted this blog post last month. Should I do it again? But remember, you see everything you post out there, but your followers most definitely do not. And everyone's consumption habits are so different on social media. So I always really encourage people to reshare their best content. You know, go to your blog analytics and look at the pages people are spending the most time on and the ones that are driving the most traffic and engagement, and use those to promote every month to make sure that you're getting that value out to the majority of your followers. And also with reinventing the wheel, there's another trick of repurposing stuff in your blog posts, getting pull quotes out from it, and maybe using a program like Canva to go ahead and put them on a beautiful background of just 1 or 2 sentences to send out as a status update. Because maybe some of your followers don't have time to actually go in and read an entire blog post, but they still want to get those great tips. They still want to get that great information. So think about the ways you can repurpose some of your strongest content, whether it's using a headline from a blog post with a beautiful image, something like that. Or what we do here at Edgar when we're writing our blog posts is we actually generate between 15 to 20 headlines per blog post. This not only allows us to get the best headline out on that blog post, but it gives us about 15 status updates to reintroduce that blog post with. Again, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel every time, and we can reshare that thinking, the language that speaks to one person might be quite different than the language that speaks to another person.
Yeah,
So it
I
can
love.
be
Yeah.
really helpful to kind of generate those and reuse those with your status updates. Also getting you that great brainstorming session to get more and more great headlines out.
So when you're talking about like a status, you're meaning, you're talking about like, I mean, I'm thinking of like a Facebook status, but you also do Instagram, and Instagram's new, right? And you do Twitter, and you do what platforms do you push out to?
Yeah, great question. So Edgar works with Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And the cool thing about using a software program like Edgar is you can actually assign a piece of content to go to all of these accounts at once. You can assign it to go to one account at a certain time. So this is, again, allows you the ability to broadcast across all your platforms without having to log into each one separately. But it is also important to remember network specifics. Everyone has some different norms when it comes to posting on Twitter is quite different than posting on Instagram, stuff like that. So thinking about the ways you can repurpose content for each network's norms. For example, we all know Instagram is such a more visual storyline. It's such a more curated place where people go to get that inspirational content, where Twitter is a little bit more newsworthy. GIFs work well on Twitter, of course, stuff like that. But you do want to share maybe more curation on Twitter than on Instagram. So thinking about the ways that you can kind of shift the way you're introducing things. And when I talk about repurposing your status updates, for sure, it's doing things like taking the content you have and thinking, hey, it looks like algorithms on LinkedIn and Facebook right now specifically are rewarding video so much, like this live video itself. They love it, and they're going to spread that reach so much further. So one of the things you really want to think about is, hey, I have this really strong blog post that I know people love. Can I jump on a quick Instagram live or Facebook live, or record a quick 2-minute video to upload to my Meet Edgar account to go out to these platforms and actually get that information in a video form? You already have it written, so you don't have to develop a ton of new content, but you're repurposing it, giving your community a means of watching it in the way they want. Because not everyone wants to read, not everyone wants to watch video, not everyone has the time to read an entire blog post. So if you're thinking of the ways of how you get your information into these different mediums, it can really help you create a community who knows you're going to show up for them in the way they want to see your information.
Very interesting. And do you know, is there a best practice or about, if you're broadcasting something out, whether I don't know if you should, do it all at once, the same thing. Like, let's say I just published something new. Do I want to saturate all of my media outlets, or do I want to stagger it? Or do you have any thoughts on how that works best, or is it
Yeah.
vary?
Great question. So when I always think about new blog posts, you want to get it out to each network at once, your newest blog post, because you want that traffic spike to come. You want everyone to know that's out there. So if it's a new blog post, if it's like a motivational quote, definitely go for a kind of a saturated one. But you also want to think about how you can entice followers to follow you on each network. And that can be helpful to diversify your content. So say you're doing something like a Facebook Live or having like a Twitter chat. You can then go in and say, on your Facebook, hey, join us on Twitter for this chat about XYZ. Here's the handle. Come over here to do that. Or if you do a great post on Facebook that's getting a lot of discussion, consider thinking about going to your Twitter handle or going to your Instagram and saying, hey, taking a screenshot of all the valuable information there and saying, hey, look at this awesome chat going on. We'd love to hear your voice, your ideas on this topic. Hop on over to our Facebook page to join in. So when it comes to diversifying content, I always like to say, think about the ways each network can support each other and have this kind of omni-channel approach to say, how can I get more followers from one place to go to another? But when it comes to kind of getting your best blog posts out there, your newest ones, it's definitely a fine strategy to put it in every place because not everyone's going to check every channel every day. So give it to the people where they want to see it.
Okay. And as far as like looping around again, I know you said not everybody sees it, but is there a generally accepted practice? Like if you haven't done it in a month, it's okay now, or wait 3 months or anything like that?
Yeah, great question. So it is a little bit more network specific. Twitter actually says you can't send the same tweet to the same Twitter account more than once anymore. So that one makes it a little bit hard when producing evergreen content for Twitter, but not impossible. Edgar actually has a tool called Variations, which allows you to add in different ways of introducing a blog post or a link or a thought leadership concept in order to make sure you're staying in compliance with their terms and condition, but still being able to reshare information. So again, saying if you're producing all those headlines, introducing that URL with a different headline, with a different question in front of it, something like that to add a little variety so that Twitter isn't going to flag it as against their terms of condition. With the other networks, you most certainly want to think about the ways you can vary it just to produce some authenticity, but you can absolutely still share the same status update on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. And what we typically do is some of our strongest blog posts we will share on a monthly basis. Again, it's kind of like this idea that we're offering so much value, and maybe the first time someone saw it, they didn't have time to read it. So they'll be grateful it came up again. And if someone sees it and they've already read it, think about the idea of a commercial on TV. If it's a good commercial, you're not going to be mad that you've seen it twice. And it's so unlikely anyone's going to see it twice at all. And then with the rest of your content, I always recommend doing it on like a quarterly basis, resharing it maybe 4 times a year. It is so unlikely that, first of all, anyone will have seen it twice. And second of all, anyone will have remembered it with how fast things move on social media these days.
Right. And if you're putting on a new title or a new spin or a new cover, that in itself is new. That it may not even be recognized as new, and it could be appealing to people, people who have an emotional connection to it, or people who have a different type of connection to it. So that's very interesting. Okay. What about like tagging and hashtags and geolocation and all of those things? Any thoughts on those?
Yeah, absolutely. So tagging specifically is awesome because it creates community. It goes along with what I was speaking to, keeping the social and social. And it's also a really great way to get some goodwill with other brands out there, other travel bloggers, because if you're tagging them and sharing a piece of content you really loved from them, it's going to be more likely that they'll do the same for you in the future. Hashtags, especially on Twitter and especially on Instagram, are going to be huge. Instagram is categorized by hashtag these days, and you get about 30 of them to use. What I like to always say to think about doing is maybe adding like 5 hashtags that are some of the biggest trending, some that get over 1 million hits. Just because you want to make sure that in that explore feature that your posts are showing up. However, when you think about it, that also means that hashtag is being added so much. So to be shown up in that top 9 of the Instagram feed under that hashtag can be really challenging. It has to be if someone checked right away, basically. So then maybe consider the next 5 that you're adding to be a little bit more niche and a little bit less of ones that are trending, because that way yours is going to be more likely to show up in that top 9 on the explore page and people will be able to click and see it. And then think about the ways that you can create actually brand specific hashtags to use up the rest of them. Ones that you're able to really get your community to rally around and share around and really get that great kind of sense of saying, hey, look at this interesting hashtag, and maybe their followers will actually click on it and get to see all that information. If you're a travel blogger and you want to really entice people to share their own experiences in a location you're in, think about the way you can get your brand name plus like a travel word in there to make it your own unique hashtag. So when using them on Instagram, I always want you to do a mix of the most trending ones, kind of a medium trending ones, and then your own branded ones. And you'll see a really great kind of tick up in that explore feature on Instagram that way. Twitter hashtags are really great as well, joining in the conversation. We do a week that works really well, again, creating community with people. And it's kind of hashtag social biz. And that way, anytime someone misses the Twitter chat, they can still go up and look at that hashtag to see all that great information. So definitely kind of utilizing them to be discovered on a more organic basis is awesome.
Yeah, I'm thinking we need to add an irresistible hashtag to our group here because we're, a pretty big community. Almost, I think we're a little over 300 right now. So that's some good networking power. So,
For
yeah,
sure.
good. My wheels are turning. All
I
right.
love
Well, you're
it.
full of great tips, really good insight. And did you mention you had some slides or something that you wanted to share with us? Or
You
what's
know
your
what? I think we covered pretty much everything that was on them, which is awesome. But if you guys are interested in using a program like Edgar to help kind of keep you motivated, to keep you accountable to this social batching, sitting down and actually making sure that your time spent on social media is time well spent so you can then develop more and more content. In the comments below after this, we'll go ahead and put a code that you can sign up with, and you'll get a free month. Make sure it's right for you and your business. And then after that, you'll get 50% off every month subsequent for a year. So definitely check it out if you're interested. And like I said, I'm an onboarding coach here. So we definitely know using new software can be a little bit frightening at first. So if you ever want to do a screen share, that's my job, to make sure that you're getting all that content in there. We have things like an RSS feed reader that can automatically bring in your blog posts from your blog to Edgar and send them out to your social media sites, again, saving you so much time. And definitely happy to demo the product at any time for any of you who wanted to see it.
Well, it's wonderful to have a name and a face to connect with. Sometimes the organizations are really big and you just never really know if you're going to reach somebody or if you can even, if they have support or you're in a little chat thing. So the fact that you're offering to actually have a personal connection with us is really appreciated. And that's a huge discount. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, yeah, we're really excited to offer it for sure. And yeah, like you said, it's kind of that personal connection that makes all the difference in business. And we're a small business ourselves, so we love keeping that. We love talking social media with our community. So definitely email support@meetedgar.com or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter to keep up with what's going on in our small business too.
All right, I'm definitely going to be checking it out. So Megan, thank you so much. You brought so many great tips. If anybody has any questions for Megan or just about social media strategy in general, feel free to post them in the comments below or reach out to me and we can get them answered for you. So I hope this was useful to you guys. This is the first time we've done this. We're going to hopefully be offering a monthly guest to come in and help us with our strategies and whatever questions we have. So Megan, thank you so much for being the first of this new series, and I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, it was great chatting. I hope to see some great success from all you out there.
Thank you. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.